And
okay.
There you go. Yeah, I'll just start letting people into the waiting room, and we give it one more minute or so before we start, just to make sure everyone's comfortable and there. So
okay.
Hello everyone.
Hello everyone. Up, put the bottle. You can see it. Up.
Thank you for joining us. For just going to give it a minute or so before we start, just so that we're all settled in and on the same page. There's always one or two stragglers just a minute or so after 8, so we'll give it a few minutes. And I'm sure most of you have been at real in-person spirit tastings, and they normally kick off half an hour late. So if we give it 2 minutes, I'm sure we'll we're not going too bad.
Hello everyone.
So I'll just check. Yeah.
Check
all the settings, make sure we're recording and everything.
Checking the glasses. Up.
So maybe if you want to tell us now what order you want to do them in, so we can, while we're waiting, everyone can get them ready. Do you want to go through what order you'd like to do them?
Yes, I would like us to begin with the Framboise des Bois. It's a wild raspberry. It's interesting because it represented the know-how of the distillery, and it's quite interesting to taste this one. So we can begin with the Framboise des Bois. After we can have the Poire William Rouge. It's a red pear. And after Mirabelle Très Vieille in third position, it's a very old Mirabelle Plume. After, on the fourth, we can have the Prune de Ferme. It's a plume, very old plume. And last one, last but not least, Vieux Kirch De Merize. It's a very old kirsch. It's made with sherry.
Oh, interesting. Marvelous. So we may as well get going. So hello everyone. I know that pretty sure pretty much everyone I can see in the chat has joined us before, but I know there'll be people watching either the recording or a couple people maybe will join live. This might be their first tasting. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Luke. I'm the General Manager of the Celtic Whisky Bar and Irish Whisky Experience. We're the world's largest collection of Irish whisky, and we're one of the biggest whisky bars in Ireland. We do a whisky tasting and educational attraction as well, a bespoke cocktail menu, lovely restaurant we're very proud of, and yeah, loads of others, including lots of little craft niche, not supposed to niche, but sort of spirits that you might not get in your average Irish bar, such as what we're going to be going through tonight, which is the eau de vie. So thanks, Noreen. It's a nice haircut. I got it today, so much appreciated. Before I pass you over to Fomalhaut, and I hope I've got that pronounced that right. I'm just gonna, for those of you, I'm sure you all already know, guys, but what we want from you tonight is to hear your questions and your tasting notes and your comments in the chat. And we like these things to be very interactive and yeah. So sure, we'll take it from there. Fomalhaut, I think the last time I drank eau de vie was I was at a grand repas in the south of France a few years back, and after a lot of red wine, a bottle of eau de vie appeared in a wonderful 40 degrees August summer. Yes. So it was quite the experience. So I'm hoping this will take me back there. Tell everyone joining us a bit about yourself before we get into the Nusbaumer brand.
Okay, well, hello everyone. My name is Fomalhaut. I'm French, so in advance, I would like you to be patient with me because if I make mistakes, I'm French, so sorry in advance. I've worked for 10 years in the spirit business, first in Champagne, very French wine, and then at Nusbaumer, we make a craft and very high-end eau de vie. So very French companies. And well, I love wines, I love eau de vie. I think, like you said, look, eau de vie, it's, when we talk about eau de vie, we talk about moments, times to drink it. It's traditionally at the end of a good meal, and we have like finish the meal with a fruit, with a quintessence of a fruit. So I will talk to you about the distillery. We are a very small craft distillery. We are in Alsace. It's in the east of France, in the mountains, and we only use what our environment brings us. So it's plants and fruit distillery. Tonight, we'll drink only our best products. It's 5 eau de vie. Only they are wild and very old, except for the first one. So what about begin the tasting? We can begin. Thank you. We can begin with Framboise des Bois. It's a wild raspberry. Up, I'll take it. This one. So this is a bottle. It's I said it's a very it's a family business. It's everything is made by hand. It's Patrick. Patrick is in charge of these bottles. It's the cire. It's made by hand and everything. So up. So in English, it's wild raspberries. It's wild raspberries. We no, we don't harvest it. This is very special company who go look for it in the forest. So it's a wild raspberry from Alsace. When you pour it in your glass, you can smell already all the fragrances of the wild raspberry. It's a very powerful eau de vie. So to make this eau de vie, we do it in 2 times. We receive a wild raspberry that we put in neutral spirit to do a maceration. I mean, to do eau de vie, there is two methods. Either there is a fermentation. It means you put the fruits in the cuve, and then I don't know what's the cuve in English. It's not the cellar. It's in a cask, in the inox cask, and there is natural fermentation, like to 3, 4, 5 degrees. But with the wild raspberry, you can't have the fermentation. You need to do the maceration and to put 8 kilograms of wild raspberry in the neutral spirit. It's made with grapes. And after you do the distillation, the spirit that comes out of the alembic is at 70 degrees. It's a wild raspberry spirit. And in this wild raspberry, we put again 8 kilograms of wild raspberries, Framboise des Bois, to do the second distillation. I mean, to do this, spirit, this eau de vie of Framboise des Bois, we use 16 kilograms of wild raspberry. That's huge because normally they use only 5 kilograms, so it's a lot of raspberries. And,
so sorry, just so we're all on the same page, because it's very interesting. You harvest the forage, the wild raspberries, and then are you saying you add some spirit to it and then ferment it? Is it?
Exactly. I mean, there is no fermentation for the raspberries. The sugar in the raspberries, it's fructose. I know there is English for it, but it's a sugar that can't ferment it. I mean, if you buy raspberries in shops and you put it in your fridge, after a few days, they will be black. They will be very rotted. Is that English? Rotted? Yes, they will be rotted.
Yeah, they'll be rotten. They go moldy. Yeah.
Sorry, it's mold. So you can't have fermentation with raspberries. You need to do what we call a macération in French. It's a maceration, like with liquor.
Yeah, and that converts the sugars then, does it?
Exactly. That brings out the sugar, brings out the flavor, and you put all this liquid and the raspberries in the alembic. And after you distill everything. When you use plum or apples or pear, it's like grapes. The sugar in the flesh with the skin, with the levure in the skin, there is naturally in fermentation, but not with raspberries. That's why we need to do the maceration. And after there is 2 distillations.
And you're using natural yeast. Is it a wild yeast or?
What is yeast? It's a
yeast for creating the alcohol. The yeast.
Oh,
yeah,
yes, it's natural yeast for the first one, but after we use the raspberry eau de vie. So first it's wild raspberries in the yeast, and after it's in the distillate. In the wild raspberry eau de vie, we put again.
So yeah, you infuse it then afterwards.
Yes, there is like 2 infusions. It's 2 distillations. That's why it's so strong. So when and after there is 3 years of aging in inox cask, and after we downsize the degrees of alcohol at 45 degrees.
The alcohol by volume, the ABV, as they say. Yes.
Yes.
So what's the ABV that we're drinking at here?
It's 45 degrees. I don't know if you already had dinner, but it's perfect. Or you can also have for aperitif. It's also wonderful. So you can. At the nose, it's you can smell the wild raspberries. It's very very. You very smell the raspberries, and also it's very complex because you have like all the forest fragrances. It's very botanical. Yes, it's very sweet. In this range, we don't look for the strong, high ABV. We want something very sweet. We don't want something sharp. We want something sweet, something very easy to drink. It's very complex and yeah. First question: do you like it?
I actually really like it. I'm very pleasantly surprised. There's something, I don't know, when you see clear spirit, sometimes, because I suppose we're used to drinking vodkas and stuff. I'm only speaking personally. I'm not speaking for people on the chat. I'm sure everyone listening in is much more sophisticated than me. But part of you braces yourself initially when you see a clear spirit, whereas that's got loads and loads of flavor. As you say, it's very, very complex.
Exactly. Like we to have wild raspberries allows the spirit not to have only the fragrances of the raspberry, but you have also all the botanicals and the forest fragrances. You can smell. It's like a dessert. It's very black tea. Also, there is a lot of fragrances.
Tea is it is like there's definitely a tea kind of element to it. Almost you almost expect a kind of tannic nature to come through. It's very different.
Thank you. And it's the taste stays very long, so it's a very long time. It's a very easy way to discover eau de vie.
David says feels like Loganberry to me, maybe even more so on the nose. Definitely, and I think it's quite minty on the finish as well.
Exactly.
Almost that, when you kind of clap some mint in your hands and the mint fills the air and catches the back of your throat. That's horsing out mojitos, at work. You get loads of mint in your air, in the air in your mouth.
Exactly. So it's like pepper at the end. You can smell it on your tongue. It's always sharp, and you have a lot of fragrances. So it's very good to taste.
And you said traditionally this would be a digestif.
Exactly. Yes. You usually you can drink digestif cold. You can put it in the fridge, but with all this range, you have to drink it at the natural degree. Do you want to go on and to taste Poire William Rouge?
Yeah, no, definitely. We can get the next one poured anyway, and then you can tell us more about the distillery itself and the history of the brand.
Yeah, exactly.
David in the chat says, did you say it was aged in casks? Is it aged or?
It's aged only for 3 years, but in inox casks. So it's not wood, it's inox. Why inox? Because it's very natural. That's one of our specificities. We only age all of our spirits in inox. It's the same in English.
What's an inox cask? Don't mind me asking.
Yes, inox like inox casks. Don't bring yes, stainless.
Stainless steel.
Alexander, it's stainless. Thank you very much. It doesn't bring the woody flavor or the oxygen flavors. Inox brings only time. I'm going to say it. With inox, you make the spirit smoother, like a rice. When you how do you say it in English? You make it very sweeter, and you take off the aggressivity of the alcohol.
The harshness.
Exactly. Yes.
And would that have always been the tradition, or when do you start aging it in those type of casks?
Yes, in the Alsatian tradition is to make white spirits. There is some try of doing some in wood, but the tradition of Alsace is to make white spirits, because if you make white spirits, you can very feel the taste. You can feel or taste the flavors. You can have the fragrances of the fruits, and if you put them in wooden cask, you will have something more. And we want only the fruits and the plants to the drinks.
Oh, perfect. So we're coming on to the William Rouge, is it?
Exactly, yes. William Rouge. It's a wild red William pear. So it's a very traditional drink in Alsace. Pear, it's one of the most iconic eau de vie in France. When you go to any restaurant, when you ask an eau de vie to finish your meal, traditionally they give you pear. So it's one of the best or bestseller in the distillery. But this one, it's very particular because it's a Poire William Rouge. It's a red pear. Half of the skin is red. It's a sweeter pear. It's a pear which grows on hillsides. So there is the sides are sunnier, and there is a better irrigation. So there is much more sugar in this pear than in traditional William pear, and you can feel this sugar in the drink, in the eau de vie. So it's only pear grows in France, in the next by the distillery, and also next by to the Alps. So it's a hillside. The fruits are delicious and very appetizing. It's a fruit when we receive it, we want to eat it because it's very sweet fruit and very lots of aromas. So this fruit, there is no maceration. It's a natural fermentation. The sugar in the flesh and with the skin, there's naturally fermentation. After 1 month and a half, we put all the pear fermented in the alembic in one single distillation, and it's a 70 degree eau de vie, and we put this 70 degrees eau de vie in a stainless cask for 20 years. So it's a 20 years old eau de vie of William Pierre.
It's absolutely gorgeous. Good. It's completely worlds apart from the first one. Alexander in the chat says, tastes like biting into the pear.
Yes, exactly. That's what we want. Thank you, Alexander. Because when we do distillation of fruits, we want to how do you say? We want to find the aromas of the fruit in the eau de vie. If you can taste the fruit, it's that we did a good job.
David said that was the real essence of pear. Was drinking some perry over the weekend, watching the Glastonbury live stream, flashing back. So
Yes,
if you have flashbacks to only last weekend, then I suppose. David says, David Coffey says, what is this? Why is it aged for so much longer than the last one? What's the reason?
Yes, thank you for this question. With the wild raspberry, we want to have like a sweet but sharp eau de vie. The wild raspberry, it's not a sweet fruit. We manage to have a sweet spirit, but it's not a sweet fruit. And with this long aging with a pear, we want to reveal all the sweetness of the fruit. Because if we have another eau de vie of pear, which is only aged for 7 years, and it's sharp, you can feel a young fruit. With this 20 years old red William Pierre, you can you taste very sweetness and like a red. It's mûr. It's a well matured pear. I don't know if I explain.
No, I think that does, for me anyway, that makes sense. And Noreen says everything about it captures the pear, the nose and the taste. So that kind of complements what you're saying as well. So yeah, no, it's really interesting. I feel like I feel like I'm in Alsace.
Thank you. But you should come and visit us, because it's when you go to the distillery. The distillery is at the bottom of the valley. At 500 meters of altitude, and you can have a look on the environment. We are in a very poor environment. There is no industry, there is no agriculture, there is nothing. Historically, it's poor. So we are in a very well preserved environment, which brings us all the fruit of the plant, all the plants we are making.
I was watching over Christmas. I was watching Rick Stein. I don't know if you know him. He's a TV chef in the UK. He was in Alsace, and I was thinking, God, that looks amazing.
Yes, it's a strong tradition of distillation.
So tell us about the distillery and the history of how we came to be drinking these spirits in front of us.
Yes, the distillery was founded in 1947. By Joseph Nusbaumer, which is one of the best distillators in Alsace. And the idea of the distillery is to only distill fruits and plants from the areas for the area of the distillery. So we have a very strong reputation of distillation. It's a mountain environment. And from the beginning, Joseph decided to age eau de vie. At the time, it was the first one to decided to age eau de vie. After 3 or 4 years, all of the eau de vie were traditionally sold, and Joseph decided to build a very important cellar with 120 stainless steel casks to have this say very old eau de vie.
So 1947. So it's obviously a relatively modern distillery. Was there so obviously, but obviously the tradition of eau de vie goes back much further than that in the area.
Yes, it's a tradition of it's like from Bulgaria and through Germany, Switzerland, up to France, and a little bit of Belgium. There is a tradition of to distill fruits because it's a very lot of rain in this area, so there is a lot of fruits. And at first, to conserve them, to keep them, and to keep them for the winter, they decided to do the distillation. So there is very strong use of eau de vie. I don't know if in Ireland also there is a tradition of eau de vie, or it's much more.
Oh, we have a Puccin tradition of distilling that at some point in the 17th century becomes what's known as whiskey, but also stays very traditional. It's very much the two spirits diverge, where you have the kind of the commercial industrial tradition becomes whiskey, and those who don't want to produce an industrial scale and avoid taxation, and all those who kind of produce more locally tend to break off, and it's associated with potatoes, but realistically any oats or any fruit was used in the distillation. And people, particularly if you're from poorer parts of the world, as you described Alsace, as you use what crop and what grain and what cereal and vegetation you have around you to make your alcohol. And yeah, Petra and Alexander say, I think eau de vie actually translates into Ishkabaha, which is water of life, which would be part of that. Definitely eau de vie, water of life. Yeah. So that is definitely part of tradition. I think that's important. What you mentioned as well, that idea that people were storing for winter. We can't underestimate. We sit here in front of our expensive computers in our lovely homes, but people were often distilling for grape and food preservation, because if you didn't distill it into a spirit, it was gone forever. It was rotted away. You couldn't consume it all in one go. So no, it's fantastic. Would we come on to the next one?
Yes, to a very old Mirabelle Plume. As you said, we only distill what we have around us. So Mirabelle Plume, it's a very particular fruit. It's small and small and yellow Mirabelle Plume with red checks. So it's a very it's a fruit with a lot of honey, and it's a very mature fruit. So the Mirabelle Plume is one of the with the pear. They are the two most important fruit of the area. And the Mirabelle Plume, it's a very old Mirabelle, très vieille. It's a very old Mirabelle Plume. It's the same process of the pear. We receive it. There is a fermentation for 1 month, and after distillation, and we keep this eau de vie for 25 years old in our stainless steel casks.
25, wow.
Yes, that's why it's so soft, and it's very round. It's very suave eau de vie. It's very sweet. We don't put any sugar inside or anything. It's all natural, but naturally aging for 25 years old brings all the fruity and sugary flavors of the fruits. You can the nose. It's you don't feel the alcohol. It's a 45 EBV. That's it's a look. Do I have right to say it's 45 degrees of alcohol? It's a EBV.
Yeah, 45 degrees. Yeah. Yes. Well, yeah.
It's 45 degrees, and the nose. It's in France there is a tradition of Mirabelle Plume pies, and with this eau de vie, you can feel and taste all the flavors of the Mirabelle Plume pies, like with a lot of honey. It's very, very. You can feel that the fruit is very juicy.
Wow, that's incredible.
Thank you.
Very honey. It's a touch citrusy as well, and you definitely get those kind of plum kind of flavors coming through, and you know it's really, really interesting. Incredibly different.
Mm. It's not usual to taste all these eau de vie one after the other, but it's important that we can see the differences between the fruits.
And Trevi, what or Trevi? What does that mean?
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
So you have, it's on the package that I have here is Maribel Trevi. What does the Treville translation say?
Très vieille, it means very old.
Ah, right.
It's an older eau de vie with a plume. It's yes, more so older eau de vie.
I'm sure that was obvious. My own. As I mentioned before we went live, studied French for leaving cert, and I go to France a lot. And my French is shocking. I'm dyslexic, you know. That's why I ended up being a bartender, and why I was never good at languages. But there you go.
Sorry, and I haven't speak English for 1 year and a half, so it's a little. I have to practice my English to be better for next testing.
Well, yeah, I think your English has been fantastic so far.
Thank you. So, do you see any differences between the William Peer and oh, thank you, Elizabeth, red William Peer and Mirabelle Plume?
I think they're totally different. I think all the ones we've tried so far, they're chalk and cheese. That you wouldn't think they were even the same category. It's amazing.
Thank you. For eau de vie, if you like, you have to. We sometimes ask the question, what is your favorite eau de vie? Which one do you prefer? I think the correct answer is to say, which fruit do you prefer? And you will like more the eau de vie of the fruits.
No, that's a good point. I mean, I'm one of those ones because this one is definitely my favorite so far, and then the pear, and then the first one. I know that's the order we tasted them in, but I'd love to hear what people are thinking in the chat. But the raspberries, I'm not a big fan of raspberries. I'm a fan of the idea of raspberries. I think artificial raspberries inside something, raspberries in a yogurt or something, I love. But fresh raspberries, I find are a bit too bitter for me personally. But I could drink that raspberry eau de vie all day. It's like it takes off the edges, and you're just left with the quintessential kind of flavors of what you want a raspberry to be, you know, almost like a petit flue or something, you know.
Yes, thank you, Paul. I saw you said that in the wild raspberry and in the red pea you can taste the fruit, but less in the Mirabelle Plume. That's exactly right. It's a very, very old, and you have much more the maturated fruit. That's the freshness of the fruits.
Mm. No, that's a great point by Paul. And Noreen says red fruits are my favorite fruit, but yet the pear is my favorite so far. And David says the pear is his favorite as well. So there you go.
Thank you.
It was amazing, as just so directly reminiscent of the fruit. Getting a real hint of peach on this one to go with the main flavor. You know, peach is a fantastic note. Tasting about this, I didn't get it initially, but it's one of those things we always find with these tastings. Once someone suggests something, it's there, you know.
Yes, exactly. It brings out memories and a lot of emotions. When you drink eau de vie, that you don't drink eau de vie all the time. It's unusual tastings. So when you discover or taste it, it reminds you and brings back to moments to even when you were a child and taste some fruits. Because that's why it's magical. Eau de vie are quite magical. Do you want to go on and to taste the Prune de Ferme?
So the Prune de Ferme next, is it?
Yes, exactly. Prune de ferme, it's a plume. Sorry, I have to take my phone because I have up. What? How do you say ferme in English? Sorry. 1 second. Traduction. Up. It's anglais. Up. Anglais. Up. Wow, sorry. 1 second.
Closed.
Yes, it's a farm. Agriculture farm. So, up. 1 second. Yes, prune de ferme. It's a very old plume that grows next by a farm. It's very big trees. It's blue plume, a very big one. It's like a small apple, and it's with a very big noyau. You say noyau in English. Look, do you know what is noyau in English? I have to do Google traduction.
How do you spell it?
N-O. It's a core. Sorry, the core of the fruit. The core of this blue plume is very big. So when you do the fermentation, you keep the core, then you take off the core for the distillation. And
So,
when you smell it, you can smell the almond nose. Of the
so
core.
very, very marzipan, kind of Christmas cakey on the nose. Like, it's interesting.
Exactly, yes. It's a very traditional eau de vie in Alsace, the plume.
How long is this age?
This one is 25 years old also, like the Mirabelle plume.
Wow, it's so different. It's almost like chalky and earthy compared to the first few. It's very different.
Exactly. It's a you can smell the almond. There's a little bitterness inside of the almond at the nose, and all the sweetness of the fruit after, because the flesh of the fruit is orange and the skin is blue. So it's all of these differences of the fruit. You can find it in the eau de vie.
There's a real intenseness to it at the end, like almost like an orange blossom water. Like, you know, when you get the small drop, is like really powerful. It's got that kind of bang to it. Also, it's very almondy and sharp, and with a sharp end note. Very true.
Yes. Yes, the tasting, you smell the core in the tongue, but you're right, there's a lot of pepper inside. It's a very powerful eau de vie also.
The thing about it is it reminds me of visiting older relatives. I don't know why, but that's the impression I'm getting.
That's magical to find all the complexity of the fruit in the eau de vie. And after the aging of 25 years, it's still very complex and very fresh. I think if you eat fresh fruits, you can find all the flavors of this eau de vie. Even after 25 years old, it's still fresh.
No, it's really interesting.
What do you think? If you have any question of the process or on anything, I'll be delighted to.
So, while we're waiting for people to type in their answers to that, or their questions for you, how did you go from champagne to eau de vie? How did that journey go in your life?
Well, it was I worked for big companies. I was working for Pommery Champagne. It's one of the most iconic champagne. And I wanted to work with in a small family business, and with the most important at Nusbaumer is the know-how to distill. We don't know how to. I'm here to sell the products, because before no one have never trying never sorry the policy of the strategy of the company was not to sell the product, but just to wait for customers. And that's why it's very well known, but very well known in Alsace or abroad, but in Paris it's not very well known. So I decided it's a big challenge to make people discover this range of spirits, and to discover new fragrances, because everybody drink whiskey or vodka or gin, but eau de vie, it's a forgotten tastes. So I wanted, and that's why Nicolas, the owner of the distillery, wants. We want to make people discover again eau de vie.
Oh well, it's definitely been a really enlightening night so far. We have the Kirch De Merize. How do I pronounce that?
It's a Kirch De Merize.
Kirch De Merize. So we might get that poured while we come to some of the great points that have been raised in the chat. David says, is eau de vie traditionally drunk neat? I can imagine you could get very creative with cocktails, and on a hot day, some simple soda water feels like a great idea. Is it traditional to put it in mixed drinks, or?
Yes, the tradition is to drink eau de vie neat at the end of the meal, but today it's very interesting flavors to add to cocktails, because you can bring out a lot of freshness and fruitiness to the cocktails. Now there is a new bartenders who try to use this eau de vie in cocktails, and the white raspberry. It's barmen love it. It brings out a lot of flavor in the drinks. You can mix it with vodka or fresh fruit or tea or gin also. You can, well, with white raspberry you can do anything. That's interesting. It's very the EBV is very high, so you can add a lot of fruit and plants with it.
I might try it it might be interesting. There used to be a disaster. Certainly could be interesting, like a really dry martini, like, with a very dry vermouth in there, and just see how it is slightly chilled. Noreen says, I can imagine it being superb in a cocktail. I agree. Petra and Alexander say stone fruit eau de vie seems much more delicate than the first two. Is there an explanation to that?
Sorry, I did not see the question. Can you repeat?
Stone fruit eau de vie, obviously the one with plum and that seem more delicate than the first two. Is there a reason behind that, or is that because the other two are aged more?
So I'm very sorry, I didn't hear. It's a stone fruit. It's a
plum fruit, fruit like plums with big. It's what we call fruits that have big pits in them or bones in them, big cores, exactly. And then obviously raspberries wouldn't have that. So they're saying that they're more, the stone fruit ones like pears and that are more delicate than the first two, or well, not like the pear, but more delicate than the pear and raspberry. Is there an explanation behind that?
Yes. First, I'm sorry for my English. I didn't. Yes, because we keep the plume, the core during the fermentation. When you for raspberry, it's a maceration. There is no core, and for the pear, it's a small. There is no core. It's a very small pépin. So we keep the core for the fermentation, so there will be all the flavors of almond or cherry inside. But when we do the distillation, we take it off. So it's we don't use all the fruits. That's why. And it's the core brings some flavors to the fermentations, and the distillation allows it to bring out of of these flavors, but in a very delicate way, because they don't remain in the alembic.
Oh, interesting. Thank you. So tell us about this last one.
This last one, it's Kirch De Merize. So it's Kirch means sherry. So it's a sherry from the Merize tree. The Merisier, it's a tree you can find a lot in Alsace, with a very it's a red wood. You can make furniture with it. So it's and the cherries of this Merisier, it's very small cherries with a very big core. So you can't eat it traditionally. It's not good. It's not good, and it's very bitterness inside. But to make it, they make wonderful eau de vie. We keep the core during the fermentation for like 1 month and a half, and after we take off the cores and we distill what remains. It's
really interesting. Very different.
It's interesting to end the degustation with the Kirch, because it's more rustic. I know is a
yeah, rustic. Yeah. No, that makes sense. No, it almost reminds me of like a Belgian beer almost. It's got some of these, the Lambic beers, got these really interesting flavors coming through.
Yes, exactly. It's very very floral. A lot of flower fragrances in this Kirch. It's more rustic. It's more at the nose. It's a lot. It's a lot of bitter. It's very bitterness.
No, it's very different. We'd love to hear what everyone thinks in the chat. I'm very quiet tonight.
Yes, this rare fruit. Well, it's a rare fruit, and it's a very rare eau de vie, unusual one.
So if it's very rare, for example, what would the production of this be in terms of volume?
All this range of exceptional, we call it the exceptional eau de vie. We produce only approximately 1,000 bottles per year of each fruit. So there is 1,000 bottles per year of wild raspberry and so on, with red William pear, Mirabelle plume, very old Mirabelle plume, farm plume, and Kirch De Merize. So very small production. It's our high-end.
The production was that small, and that also makes them great value. I mean, they're really complex, interesting spirits that have been a long time in maturation. You say some of them 25 years, and the average one that we're trying tonight is mostly around 30 euros. So they're very good value. I know there's a few of them are much higher. Look at it now, but they're still absolutely stunning.
Exactly, because for our tradition, our classic Kirch, it's a 7 years old age. So it's a 7 years old, 7 years old age. So it's a long aging for our classic eau de vie, but this exceptional range is very old. It's very unusual even in Alsace.
We have Paul says the Celtic whiskey shop has your selection range as well as the exception range that we are tasting. What's the difference between them, particularly for the pear?
Yes, the pear is very unusual, and it's something we are very proud of. So we produce like 500 liters per year before reduction, And I haven't told you about the reduction because it's very important in our process. The distillation of the fruit brings the 70 degree spirit, 70 degrees, 70 ABV, and to downsize it to 45 or 43 for the peer, we use our own water. We have a spring in the next by the distillery, and we use this this water. So it's pure water.
Sorry, I got the prices wrong there. So the Kirch we're drinking is 82 euros. The Framboise is 82 as well. The Pear Williams is 59. So they're they're still for what they are and for the age and rarity, they're still absolutely fantastic value. The Elizabeth Waltz is all very different spirits, all delicious. Pear is my favourite, but I would happily drink any of the 5 that we've sampled this evening. Petra and Alexander says all of them are fantastic. Favourites are Pear, Maribel, closely followed by the Kirch. So that's fantastic. David says I googled to see if I could put a name on what I couldn't with this, and cherry licorice was the answer.
Okay. Yes. Thank you.
And that makes that. I don't know what cherry licorice really tastes like. That sounds like right. It sounds like it makes sense.
Well, thank you for all your kind words, everyone, because it's old-fashioned spirit, but it's very nice to have good words and good and kind words of what we do.
No, it's been really, really informative. This is one of the ones which actually David Coffey literally just said as I said that as well. It's one of the where we do a lot of these tastings, and some of them, because we're so saturated with different whiskies and everything, there's only, out of all the information you get, maybe only a percentage of it is like, wow, that's different, I didn't know that. Whereas this, for me personally, I'm sure I'm speaking to a lot of you in the chat, was really eye-opener. I knew very little about the ODV, about Saskill side, so thank you so much. It's been absolutely fantastic.
Yes, and I hope I will be able to do the tasting in person in Ireland. It will be easier to do the tasting together and to explain all the process.
Yeah, no, 100%. No, and yeah, we definitely must come down to Clarny and we'll look after you down here. Just a few more comments coming in. David says, great night. Sorry, I think chat's moving. I mean, came in completely blind, that too means, and loved the explanation as well as the flavours. Thank you, great spirits, great tasting. Elizabeth said, never had ODB until this evening, but I'll definitely invest in more of these. Thank you, it's been a great tasting. Paul says, your website, Celtic Whiskey Shop, shows out of stock for the Maribel. Will you be getting more in? Paul, I'm actually not sure. I'm based down in Clarny, but I'm going to make a note of that now, and I will try and find that out. I imagine, well, I'm actually not sure. I was going to say I imagine will, but given the limited quantities, when do you normally release your batch each year?
It depends of the fruits. We do the distillation just when the fruit are well matured. So, for example, the Mirabelle Plume, it's in September. The pear, it depends. It's like in July, sometimes in August. It depends on the fruit. And after the wild raspberry, I don't know exactly. I don't know for those 3 others. I will look into it to tell you.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but when the fruit is ready, we have to do the eau de vie right after that.
But they're obviously aged. That's when you harvest them, but they're obviously aged over time, and obviously in some of these cases 25 years. So when you try to release the bottle, is it at the start of the year, at the end of the year? When do you normally say the 2021 batch of whichever one? What time would they all come out together at a certain time of the year, or?
Oh no, we don't have a particular time. We do it when we have time to do it. So mostly in winter, because in spring and summer and autumn, all the fruit are ready to be harvested and to be distilled. So we do it mostly in winter, yes, when we have time to do it.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. No, marvelous. Well, look, Paul, I'll try and find that out for you from Ali and the gang in Dublin and see if we can get an answer to you before the weekend. And thank you so much for doing this. Before you go there, Petra and Alexander says, do you grow the fruit yourself or do you buy them in?
No, we buy them in because it's quite it's a lot of work to grow them ourselves. It's we have a very we have partnership with people around our distillery, and we work with the same people for decades. But we don't grow them ourselves. It's too much complicated, and we want to have the best fruits every year. So it's a different job. It's very complicated for us to do it.
No, that makes perfect sense. And obviously, you said that the raspberries were foraged wild, so obviously, you don't. It's better to get someone else to do that rather than worrying about it yourself.
We ask them where they find it. They didn't answer. We don't know. We don't know where to find wild raspberries in Alsace. Only there.
They're shipping them in from Eastern Europe.
No.
No, of course, I'm joking. No, thank you so much, Fomalhaut. Elizabeth says, merci beaucoup. So, merci beaucoup. Bonsoir.
Je vous en prie. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much for your for everything, for your interest in the product, and for your bienveillance with my English. And thank you, Luke, for managing it. So thank you very much.
I think this was probably my worst one, butchering all the translations and everything. But no, it's been absolutely fantastic. So thank you so much for coming on. And if anyone listening has any questions that I missed or something that they think of after the fact, if you email me, and as I always say, we'll try and get them answered. I'm CC'd into the Zoom link you were sent out, so you all have my contact details. So thank you so much, and we'll talk soon.
Yes, thank you very much. Bye bye.
Bonsoir.